You helped some white woman, and now you think you're special? Dean Shaunta Mitchell stood behind her mahogany desk, arms crossed, power suit pressed sharp as a blade. Let me explain something to you people. You skip the most important exam of your academic career, then waltz in here expecting sympathy? Cheryl Hathaway, 19 years old, still wearing royal blue scrubs stained with blood, tried to keep her voice steady. Dean Mibbo. She was hurt. I had to. You had to show up on time. Mitchell's voice dropped to ice. You know what I think? I think you weren't prepared. I think you panicked, and I think you made up a convenient story. Cheryl's hands trembled. That's not true. I can prove. You know what you did prove? Mitchell opened Cheryl's file, let the pages fall dramatically across her desk. 4 semesters of straight A's, clinical evaluations praising her skill, her compassion, her dedication. Mitchell swept them all into her trash bin with one motion. You proved you don't have what it takes. You're expelled, Miss Hathaway. And since you apparently think you can practice emergency medicine on city streets without a license, she picked up her phone. I'm filing a formal complaint with the police. Reckless endangerment, practicing medicine without authorization. Cheryl's legs nearly gave out. You can't. I just did. Campus security will escort you out. Clean out your locker. Don't come back. Cheryl stood in that office, watching 4 years of sacrifice disappear into a garbage can, feeling her future crumble like ash. But 48 hours later, 3 black SUVs pulled up to Cheryl's apartment complex. Jeanne Vest stepped out of his center vehicle, followed by a man in a $1,000 suit carrying a briefcase. She had come to destroy everyone who hurt the girl who saved her life. 48 hours earlier, Tuesday, 6:47 a.m., Cheryl's alarm pierced the pre-dawn darkness of her studio apartment. Pathophysiology, 4:01 final exam, 8 o'clock a.m. No makeups, no exceptions. This exam was worth 40% of her grade. Fail it, and she'd fail the class. Fail the class, and she'd lose her scholarship. Lose her scholarship, and nursing school was over. She pulled on her royal blue scrubs, the same ones from yesterday because the laundromat cost $7 she didn't have. On her bathroom mirror, a sticky note in her grandmother's handwriting. Baby girl, you're going to be the first Dr. Hathaway this family ever had. Make us proud. Cheryl grabbed her backpack and ran into the November morning. Downtown was chaos. Morning commuters flooded the sidewalks. Everyone moving fast. Heads down, earbuds in. The number 12 bus would arrive at 7th and Market in 4 minutes. From there, 15 minutes to campus. Just enough time. Then Cheryl saw her. The woman slumped against the brick wall of a closed gallery. Face an elegant cream-colored coat covered in what looked like blood. Dark red liquid streaked down from her hairline, pooling on the concrete. An expensive handbag lay overturned beside her. People walked past. A jogger glanced, grimaced, kept running. 2 college students didn't even break stride. Nobody stopped. Cheryl checked her phone. 6:51 a.m. 9 minutes until the bus. The woman's hand twitched. Her lips moved soundlessly. Cheryl dropped her backpack. She fell to her knees on the cold pavement, hands moving through rapid assessment protocol. Ma'am, can you hear me? I'm Cheryl. I'm a nursing student. Pulse, rapid and thready. Skin, cold, clammy. Pupils responsive, but the woman's breathing was shallow. Not blood, paint. Red latex paint, still wet. Probably from the protest signs scattered nearby. But the woman was going into shock regardless. Shock could kill just as easily as a head wound. Cheryl pulled out her phone and dialed 911. This is Cheryl Hathaway, 3rd-year nursing student. I have an unresponsive female, approximately 50 years old. She's covered in blood, but she's exhibiting signs of shock. Rapid pulse, cold extremities, shallow breathing. Corner of 7th and Market, southeast side. Ambulance is 6 minutes out. 6 minutes. In shock, 6 minutes was the difference between recovery and organ failure. A businessman in a gray suit stopped. Should I call someone? Your coat. Now. Cheryl wrapped it around the woman, preserving body heat. Ma'am, stay with me. What's your name? The woman's eyes fluttered open. Jeanne, the signs fell. Everyone just... I've got you, Jeanne. You're going to be okay. I'm right here. Cheryl monitored the woman's pulse with 2 fingers on her wrist. The paint was still wet on her own hands now, staining her scrubs. Her phone lit up on the pavement beside her. 6:54 a.m. At the bus stop 1 block away, the number 12 pulled up. The doors opened. Passengers boarded. The driver waited the regulation 30 seconds. Cheryl didn't look up. The doors closed. The bus pulled away. The ambulance arrived 8 minutes later, sirens splitting the morning air. A female paramedic jumped out, medical kit in hand. What do we have? Cheryl didn't stand. Female patient, early 50s, paint exposure from what looks like a protest accident. She was semi-conscious when I found her, but showing clear shock symptoms. Tachycardia, cold extremities, altered mental status. I've been monitoring vitals for the last 8 minutes. Pulse has stabilized slightly, but she needs IV fluids and warming. The paramedic knelt beside Cheryl, checked Jeanne's pupils, her pulse. She looked at Cheryl, at the paint covering her scrubs, at the calm precision in her eyes, at the coat carefully positioned to preserve heat. You kept her alive. Shock like this. If she'd been alone another 10 minutes, the paramedic shook her head. You saved her life, honey. Are you a nurse? Not yet. Cheryl's voice cracked. Not if I don't get to campus in 20 minutes. They loaded Jeanne into the ambulance. Before the doors closed, the woman grabbed Cheryl's wrist. Thank you, she whispered. What's her name? Cheryl. Cheryl Hathaway. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Sirens wailed into the distance. Cheryl stood alone on the sidewalk, covered in red paint that looked like blood, watching her future drive away in the opposite direction. Her phone exploded with texts. Cheryl, where are you? Girl, the exam starts in 10 minutes. Prot's already at the door with the lock. The exam got started 6 minutes ago. Cheryl ran anyway. Harrison Medical Building, 3rd floor, room 304. The door was closed. Through the narrow window, Cheryl could see her classmates bent over their exams, pencils moving. Dean Shaunta Mitchell sat at the front desk, reading something on her tablet. Cheryl knocked. Dean Mitchell looked up, saw Cheryl, checked her watch, looked back down at her tablet. Cheryl knocked harder, desperation making her bold. The dean stood slowly, walked to the door, opened it exactly 2 inches. Miss Hathaway, you're late. Dean Mitchell, there was an emergency. A woman on Market Street was... The exam began at 8 a.m. It is now 8:17. She was in shock. I'm a nursing student. I couldn't just... And yet somehow every other nursing student in this program managed to arrive on time. Dean Mitchell's eyes traveled down to Cheryl's paint-stained scrubs, and something like disgust flickered across her face. You look like you've been in a fight. Are you on drugs, Miss Hathaway? What? No, this is paint from the woman I helped. I've heard enough. The door began to close. Cheryl put her hand against it. Please, just let me explain. Remove your hand from this door, or I will call security. Dean Mitchell's voice carried across the silent classroom. 20 heads turned to watch. You will receive a failing grade for this exam. Given that this accounts for 40% of your coursework, you will fail Pathophysiology 401. I suggest you schedule an appointment with the registrar to discuss your options. The door clicked shut. Through the window, Cheryl watched Dean Mitchell return to her desk, watch her classmates turn back to their exams, watch her entire future disappear behind 3 inches of reinforced glass. She stood there for 30 seconds, paint drying on her hands. Then she walked away. Wait, before you hear what happens next, I need you to understand something. This story, it's about to get so much worse before it gets better. And if you don't subscribe right now, you might miss the moment when everything changes. The moment when Cheryl's life hangs in the balance. The moment when justice finally shows up. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in the next 48 hours will make your blood boil and then make you believe in karma again. Don't let YouTube hide this from you. Subscribe, then keep watching. Trust me, you're not ready for what comes next. Cheryl sat in the waiting area outside Dean Mitchell's office for 47 minutes before the secretary finally called her name. At the academic appeals office smelled like old carpet and desperation. 3 other students sat in plastic chairs, all of them avoiding eye contact, all of them looking like they'd already lost. When Cheryl finally entered, Dean Mitchell didn't look up from her computer screen. "Miss Hathaway, I have 12 minutes before my next appointment. Make it quick." Cheryl placed a folder on the desk. Inside were printouts, the 911 call logs she'd requested from the dispatcher, a statement from the paramedic who responded to the scene, even a newspaper article about the protest that had caused the paint accident. Everything proved her story was true. "Dean Mitchell, I understand the policy about exam attendance, but this was a genuine medical emergency. The paramedics confirmed I provided appropriate care that may have saved this woman's life. I'm requesting an opportunity to take a makeup exam." Mitchell finally looked up. Her expression was cold, clinical. "Are you a licensed physician, Miss Hathaway?" "No, ma'am. I'm a third-year nursing student." "So you admit you performed medical procedures without proper authorization?" Mitchell pulled out a legal pad and began writing. "Tell me exactly what you did to this woman." Cheryl's stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. "I assessed her condition and called 911. I kept her warm and monitored her vitals until the ambulance arrived." "You touched her?" "Yes, to check her pulse, and you moved her." "I positioned her to prevent heat loss, but I was careful not to." "Did you have this woman's consent to touch her, to move her, to perform medical assessments on her body?" The room felt like it was tilting. "She was semi-conscious, in shock. I was trying to help." Mitchell leaned back in her chair, pen tapping against the legal pad. "Here's what I see, Miss Hathaway. I see a student who was unprepared for an exam. I see that student concocting an elaborate story about heroism to excuse her failure. And I see that same student admitting she performed unauthorized medical procedures on an unconscious woman who couldn't consent. That's not what happened." "That's exactly what happened." Mitchell's voice sharpened. "You know what the real problem is with students like you? You think the rules don't apply to you. You think you can show up late, covered in God knows what, and we're all supposed to applaud your initiative. Students like you." The phrase hung in the air like smoke. Cheryl forced herself to stay calm. "I'm not asking for applause. I'm asking for a chance to take the exam I missed while saving someone's life." Request denied. Mitchell closed the folder without looking at the evidence inside. "Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the university police. What you did, touching an unconscious woman, performing medical procedures without license or consent, potentially moving someone with unknown injuries, that's reckless endangerment." Cheryl's blood went cold. "You're calling the police. I'm filing a formal complaint. The university has a duty to protect the public from students who believe their minimal training gives them the right to practice medicine." Mitchell stood, signaling the meeting was over. "Campus security has been notified that you're banned from this building pending investigation. If you return, you'll be arrested for trespassing." "This is insane." "This is accountability, Ms. Hathaway. Something your generation desperately needs to learn." Mitchell opened her office door. "We're done here." Cheryl walked out into the hallway on legs that didn't feel like her own. Behind her, she heard Dean Mitchell pick up her phone. "Yes, this is Dean Shaunta Mitchell from Harrison Medical College. I need to file a formal complaint about a student who endangered a civilian." The words followed Cheryl all the way to the elevator. Thursday night, 9:47 p.m. Cheryl was washing dishes when the first flash of red and blue light strobed through her apartment window. She froze, hands still in the soapy water, and watched the colors paint her walls in alternating waves of emergency. Then came the pounding. "Cheryl Hathaway, this is the police. Open the door." Her heart stopped. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. She was 19 years old. She'd never even got a parking ticket. "Miss Hathaway, we have a warrant. Open this door now or we're coming in." Cheryl's hands shook as she unlocked the deadbolt. 3 officers stood in the hallway, hands near their belts, faces hard and professional. Behind them, neighbors peered out from cracked doors. Cheryl Hathaway? Yes. You're under arrest for reckless endangerment and practicing medicine without a license. Turn around and put your hands behind your back. The hallway spun. There's been a mistake. I'm a nursing student. I helped someone. I called 911. We're aware of a complaint, ma'am. Turn around. Cold metal touched her wrist. Cheryl heard the first handcuff click into place, heard her neighbor's gasp, heard her own breathing coming too fast, too shallow. This was it. Her life was over. Not just her nursing career, her entire life. A criminal record, an arrest. No one would hire her. No school would take her. The second cuff was halfway closed when headlights flooded the parking lot. A black Mercedes S-Class came to a stop at the curb, tires squealing against asphalt. The driver's door flew open before the engine even cut off. A man in a charcoal suit emerged, moving with the kind of purpose that made people step aside. Stop. Do not complete that arrest. His voice carried like a courtroom announcement. He was already striding toward them, briefcase in one hand, phone in the other. The lead officer's hand stayed on Cheryl's wrist. Sir, you need to step back. Jeffrey M. Kurz, attorney at law. I represent Miss Hathaway. He thrust a business card at the officer. That arrest is unlawful, and if you complete it, I'll have your badge and this department in federal court before sunrise. The passenger door of the Mercedes opened. Jeanne Vest stepped out. She moved slowly, carefully. A white bandage still visible at her hairline, but she was standing. She was alive. And she was walking straight toward Cheryl, with tears streaming down her face. That's her, Jeanne said, her voice breaking. That's the girl who saved my life. The officer holding Cheryl's wrist hesitated. Ma'am, I don't know who you are, but we have a warrant. That warrant is based on a false complaint filed by Dean Shaunta Mitchell of Harrison Medical College. Kurz was already pulling documents from his briefcase. My client provided emergency medical assistance to Mrs. Vest, who was suffering from shock and paint exposure following an accident. Mrs. Vest was conscious and accepted help. The 911 dispatcher has recordings confirming Miss Hathaway's competent emergency response. She saved a woman's life, and your warrant is retaliation by a university administrator who failed my client for being late to an exam. He handed the lead officer a stack of papers. That's a cease and desist order. Page 2 is the 911 recording transcript. Page 3 is a statement from the responding paramedic. Page 4 is Mrs. Vest's statement. Page 5 is a notice that we're filing a federal lawsuit against Dean Mitchell for filing a false police report, abuse of power, and violating my client's civil rights under Title VI. Jeanne stepped closer, looking directly at the officer still holding Cheryl's wrist. If you arrest this girl, you're arresting the only person on a crowded street who stopped to help me. Everyone else walked by like I was trash. She missed her exam. She sacrificed her future for me. Her voice hardened. And now you're going to arrest her? The officer looked at his partner. His partner looked at the papers Kurz handed over. Radio static crackled from someone's shoulder. Slowly, the officer released Cheryl's wrist. The handcuff clicked open. We'll need to verify this with the district attorney's office. You do that. Kurz's smile was sharp as broken glass. We'll be here. Police cruisers pulled away 10 minutes later, red and blue lights fading into the November darkness. Cheryl stood in her doorway, wrist still bearing the red mark from where the handcuff had pressed against her skin. She couldn't stop shaking. Jeanne approached slowly, like someone approaching a frightened animal. Up close, Cheryl could see the exhaustion in her face, the purple shadows under her eyes, the white bandage at her temple. But she was standing. She was alive. May we come inside? Jeanne's voice was gentle. Please, I need to explain. Cheryl's apartment was barely 400 square feet. A studio with a kitchenette, a futon that doubled as her bed, textbooks stacked on a card table that served as her desk. She watched Jeanne take it all in. The single hot plate, the mini fridge, the bathroom door that didn't close all the way. Watched this woman in her $1,000 coat stand in a space that probably cost less than her shoes. Kurtz remained by the door, professional alert, giving them space. Jeanne sat on the futon without being invited, and Cheryl noticed her hands were trembling. "I didn't know," Jeanne said. "I swear to God, I didn't know what they were doing to you." "Who are you?" Cheryl's voice came out smaller than she intended. "My name is Jeanne Marie Vest. My husband is Thomas Vest. He owns Vest Industries. Tech manufacturing, medical devices, pharmaceutical investments." She said it simply, without pride or apology. "We're worth about $4.2 billion. And I've spent the last 2 days in a hospital bed because of what happened Tuesday morning." Cheryl sank into the folding chair by her card table. The paint. "I was at a climate protest downtown. I'm on the board of 3 environmental nonprofits. We were setting up and one of the volunteers knocked over an entire cart of supplies. Signs, banners, paint cans, everything came down on top of me." Jeanne touched the bandage at her temple. "One of the metal frames hit me here. Not deep, but head wounds bleed like crazy, even when they're not serious. But it wasn't the cut that almost killed me." She met Cheryl's eyes. "I have a heart condition, mitral valve prolapse. Usually manageable, but stress, shock, trauma, any of those can trigger an episode. When that paint cart came down, when I felt the blood, when I looked around and realized no one was stopping," her voice cracked. "I panicked. My heart rate spiked. I went into shock." Cheryl remembered the cold skin, the thready pulse, the shallow breathing. "The doctor said if I'd been alone another 15 minutes, I would have had a full cardiac event. Maybe a heart attack. Maybe worse." Jeanne's hands clenched in her lap. "You didn't just help me, Cheryl. You saved my life. And I didn't even get your last name before they put me in that ambulance." "I told you, Cheryl Hathaway." "I know that now. I had my assistant track down the 911 call logs. When I found out what happened, that you missed your exam, that they failed you, Jeanne's face twisted with anger and grief. "They were going to arrest you. They were going to give you a criminal record for saving my life." Kurz spoke from the doorway. "Mrs. Vest called me from her hospital room at 6 a.m. this morning. I've spent the last 14 hours building a case. I wanted to come sooner," Jeanne said, "but the doctors wouldn't discharge me until tonight. I made Jeffrey promise he'd monitor the situation. When we found out about the warrant..." She stood abruptly, closing the distance between them. "Cheryl, I am so sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. I'm sorry it has happened. I'm sorry that woman did this to you." Cheryl felt something break loose in her chest. The fear, the humiliation, the certainty that her life was over. All of it came pouring out in a sob she couldn't control. Jeanne made tea using Cheryl's electric kettle, while Kurz transformed the card table into a makeshift war room. He'd pulled a laptop from his briefcase and was already typing, the blue glow illuminating his face in the dim apartment. "Tell me everything about Jeanne Mitchell," Kurz said, not looking up from his screen. "How long has she been at Harrison Medical College? What's her reputation? Has she done this before?" Cheryl wrapped her hands around the chipped mug Jeanne had given her. The warmth helped her focus. "She's been dean for 3 years. Before that, she was head of academic standards. And in those 3 years, there were stories." Cheryl's voice was quiet. "Things people don't talk about officially, but everyone knows." Kurd stopped typing. "What kind of stories?" "Last year, a black student named Marcus Williams got into an argument with a professor about a grade. The professor said Marcus was threatening him. Jeanne Mitchell called campus police. Marcus was arrested in the middle of the quad. Charges were eventually dropped, but he withdrew from the program." Jeanne set down her own mug, listening intently. "Before that, there was Aisha Thompson. She organized a protest about the lack of diversity in the nursing faculty. Jeanne Mitchell said the protest violated campus assembly policies and threatened expulsion. Aisha backed down, but she failed out the next semester. People say Mitchell targeted her grades. People say, or you know." Kurtz's pen was moving across the legal pad now. "I know Aisha had a 3.8 GPA before the protest. I know she failed 2 classes in 1 semester after never failing anything before." Cheryl met his eyes. "And I know she was one of only 4 black students in her cohort." Kurtz wrote faster. "How many black students are currently in the nursing program?" 12 out of 237 students. "And how many have been disciplined by Jeanne Mitchell in the last 3 years?" Cheryl hadn't thought about it that way before, but now that he'd asked, the pattern was impossible to ignore. 7 that I know of. Maybe more. 7 out of 12. Kurz looked up. That's not a pattern. That's a hunting license. Jeanne stood abruptly, pacing the small space between the futon and the kitchenette. How is this legal? How is she still employed? Because nobody's proven it yet, Kurz said. Discrimination cases are hard to win when each incident looks isolated. A late arrival here, a protest violation there, a verbal altercation somewhere else. Individually, they look like legitimate disciplinary actions. But taken together, it's systematic targeting, Cheryl finished. Exactly. Kurz pulled up a new screen on his laptop. Harrison Medical College is a private institution, but it receives federal funding. That means it's subject to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. If we can prove Dean Mitchell has engaged in a pattern of discrimination, we don't just get your case dismissed, we get the entire program investigated. He looked at Cheryl. I need names. Every student you know who's been disciplined by Mitchell. Every incident, every detail, no matter how small. If there's a pattern, we'll find it. And if there isn't, Kurz's smile was cold. Then we'll bury her on the false police report alone. Filing a fraudulent complaint to justify an arrest is a crime. She'll be lucky if she only loses her job. Jeanne returned to the futon, sitting beside Cheryl. We're gonna fix this. I promise you. She's not gonna destroy another student's future. Cheryl thought about Barkis, about Aisha, about all the students who'd walked away quietly rather than fight. It's not just about me, is it? No, Kurz said. It never was. This is about making sure she can't do it again. He opened a new document on his screen. Let's start with Marcus Williams. Tell me everything you remember. It took Kurz 72 hours to crack open Harrison Medical College's disciplinary records. He had a forensic accountant, a private investigator, and a paralegal working in shifts. What they found was damning. Friday afternoon, Kurz returned to Cheryl's apartment with 3 banker's boxes and a laptop connected to an external hard drive. Jeanne arrived 20 minutes later with actual furniture, 2 folding tables and 4 chairs from her car, because Cheryl's card table couldn't hold the evidence. Tell me what you found, Jeanne said. Kurz opened his laptop. The screen showed a spreadsheet with color-coded rows. In the last 3 years, Dean Mitchell has personally filed disciplinary actions against 47 students. Of those 47, 31 were students of color. That's 66%. But the nursing program is what, 5% black? Cheryl asked. 5.1% black, 8.3% Latino, 3.2% Asian. Total minority enrollment is around 16%. Kurz pulled up another chart, which means students of color are being disciplined at nearly 4 times the rate of white students. Jeanne leaned forward. That's the pattern. It gets worse. Kurz clicked to a new sheet. I cross-referenced the infractions. White students who arrive late to exams, they get warnings, makeup opportunities, academic probation at worst. Marcus Williams raised his voice in a meeting. Police called, arrested for threatening behavior. White student throws a chair during a failed simulation exercise, warning and counseling. Aisha Thompson organizes a peaceful protest, threatened with expulsion. He pulled a document from one of the boxes. This is from 2 years ago. A white student named Brittany Hoffman was caught cheating on a midterm. Another student's exam answers photographed on her phone. Dean Mitchell gave her a 1-semester academic probation and mandatory ethics training. Cheryl felt sick. What happened to her? She graduated last spring. She's a nurse now. Kurz pulled another file. Compare that to David Chen, an Asian student who was accused of plagiarism on a paper, same semester. The plagiarism was never proven. Turned out his citations were formatted wrong, not copied. But Dean Mitchell expelled him anyway. He's working as a pharmacy technician now because no other nursing program would accept him with an expulsion on his record. The apartment fell silent except for the hum of Kurz's laptop. She's been destroying futures for 3 years, Jeanne said quietly. How many students has she pushed out? At least 15 that we can document. Probably more who left before formal disciplinary action. Kurz closed the laptop. But here's what's going to bury her. He pulled out his phone and connected it to the laptop. Security footage filled the screen, greeny black and white, time-stamped Tuesday morning at 6:52 a.m. The angle showed the corner of 7th and Market. Cheryl watched herself drop to her knees beside Jeanne's collapsed form. Watched her hands move with precision. checking pulse, assessing breathing, positioning Jeanne carefully to preserve heat. Every movement was textbook. Every decision was correct. "This is from the bank across the street," Kurz said. "Their cameras covered the sidewalk for security. I subpoenaed the footage yesterday." On screen, Cheryl pulled out her phone and made the 911 call. She never left Jeanne's side. She monitored vitals. She kept her conscious. She saved her life. Dean Mitchell's police complaint claims you performed dangerous, unauthorized procedures that endangered Mrs. Vest. Hers paused the video on a frame showing Cheryl's careful hand placement, checking Jeanne's pulse. "This footage proves you provided confident, life-saving emergency care. You did everything right." Jeanne was crying again, watching the moment her life was saved play out in silent black and white. "We have her," Kurz said. "The pattern proves discrimination. The footage proves her complaint was false. And filing a false police report to justify an arrest?" He smiled. "That's a crime." Cheryl stared at the frozen image on the screen. "What happens now?" Now, Kurz began packing the files back into the boxes. "Now we go to war." Dean Shaunta Mitchell called the press conference for Monday morning at 10 a.m. in the main auditorium of Harrison Medical College. Local news stations sent cameras. The university's communications director positioned Mitchell behind a podium bearing the school's seal. Behind her, the banner read, "Excellence through Accountability." Mitchell wore a navy suit and her most professional smile. "Thank you all for coming. I'm here today to address recent allegations regarding student discipline at Harrison Medical College. Let me be clear. This institution has one standard for all students, regardless of race, background, or circumstance. When students violate our code of conduct, when they endanger the public, when they fail to meet our rigorous academic standards, they face consequences. That's not discrimination, that's excellence." The cameras loved her. She looked composed, authoritative, righteous. The student in question missed a critical examination. When confronted, she admitted to performing unauthorized medical procedures on an unconscious woman without license or consent. This institution has a duty. The auditorium doors burst open. Jeanne Vest walked down the center aisle, heels clicking against polished floor, bandage still visible at her temple. Behind her came Cheryl, head high, wearing her royal blue scrubs, and behind them both, Jeffrey M. Kurz carried a briefcase that might as well have been a loaded weapon. Every camera in the room turned toward them. "Dean Mitchell," Jeanne's voice carried across the stunned silence. "I'm the unconscious woman you're talking about, and I'd like to correct your statement." Mitchell's face went white. "This is a closed press conference, security. My name is Jeanne Marie Vest. This young woman saved my life when I went into shock on the public street." Jeanne reached the front of the auditorium and turned to face the cameras. She didn't perform unauthorized procedures. She performed competent emergency first aid that kept me alive until paramedics arrived. And for that, you tried to have her arrested. Kurz stepped forward, opening his briefcase on the podium beside Mitchell. "Jeffrey M. Kurz, attorney representing Ms. Hathaway. I have here security footage from the incident in question, 9/11 dispatch recordings, paramedic statement, and 3 years of disciplinary records from Harrison Medical College." He pulled out the spreadsheet and held it up for the cameras. "Dean Mitchell has filed disciplinary actions against 47 students in 3 years. 31 of those students, 66%, were students of color, despite minority students representing only 16% of program enrollment. Students of color are disciplined at 4 times the rate of white students for identical infractions." A reporter stood. "Dean Mitchell, is this true?" Mitchell gripped the podium. "Those statistics are taken out of context." "Context?" Kurz pulled out another document. "Brittany Hoffman, white student, caught cheating with photographic evidence, 1 semester probation. David Chen, Asian student, accused of plagiarism that was later proven to be a citation formatting error, expelled. Marcus Williams, black student, raised his voice in a meeting, arrested. Would you like me to continue?" The cameras were focused entirely on Mitchell now. Her professional mask was cracking. "And here's the part that makes this criminal." Kurz's voice dropped, cold and precise. Dean Mitchell filed a police complaint claiming Miss Hathaway endangered Mrs. Vest through reckless medical procedures. But security footage proves Miss Hathaway provided competent, life-saving care. The paramedics confirmed it. The hospital confirmed it. Mrs. Vest is alive because of Cheryl Hathaway. He turned to the cameras. Filing a false police report to justify an arrest is a criminal offense. Dean Mitchell weaponized law enforcement against a student who saved a life. 2 police officers entered from the side door. They weren't campus security. They were city police, and they were walking toward the podium. Dean Shaunta Mitchell? The lead officer's voice was formal, professional. We need you to come with us. We have questions regarding a false report filed on November 19th. Mitchell's hands shook. This is absurd. I was protecting the university. Ma'am, please step away from the podium. The cameras captured everything. Dean Mitchell, the woman who'd built a career on law and order, being escorted from her own press conference, while Cheryl Hathaway stood silent and vindicated in her bloodstained scrubs. Jeanne took the microphone. No student should ever face this. Not at this university, not anywhere. We're going to make sure it never happens again. Dean Shaunta C. Mitchell resigned 48 hours after the press conference. The university called it a mutual decision. The local news called it what it was, a firing disguised as dignity. By Thursday, the state attorney general had opened a formal investigation into Harrison Medical College's disciplinary practices. By Friday, Mitchell's attorney was negotiating a plea deal on the false report charges. Cheryl stood outside Room 304 on Monday morning, exactly 2 weeks after she'd been locked out. The door was open now. Inside, her classmates were settling into their seats, pulling out notebooks, checking phones before class started. She walked in. The room went silent. 20 faces turned toward her. Then someone started clapping. It was Maya Chen, who sat in the back row and barely spoke. Then it was James Rodriguez. Then it was everyone, the entire class rising to their feet. Applause echoing off the institutional walls of Harrison Medical College. Professor Sandra Hayes stood at the front of the room, tears in her eyes. Miss Hathaway, welcome back. Cheryl's new exam was scheduled for Wednesday. Professor Hayes had personally written a replacement test and arranged for a neutral proctor. Cheryl scored a 94, highest in the class. The university offered her a full scholarship for the remainder of her program. They offered to expunge the failed exam from her record. They offered her a formal apology in writing. Kerrs told them it wasn't enough. So they offered more. The Cheryl Hathaway Emergency Response Protocol was adopted campus-wide by December. Any student who missed an exam or class due to providing emergency medical assistance would be granted an automatic makeup opportunity. No questions asked. The policy was named in her honor. A plaque went up in the nursing building. But Jeanne did something bigger. The Vest Foundation Student Justice Fund launched on January 15th with an initial endowment of $5 million. The fund provided free legal representation to any student facing disciplinary action at Harrison Medical College or any of the 12 other schools in the consortium. Within 3 months, 17 students had filed appeals. 14 won. Marcus Williams was readmitted to Harrison Medical College with a full scholarship and a formal apology. He graduated the following spring. David Chen transferred back from the community college where he'd been rebuilding his future. The plagiarism charge was officially vacated from his record. Aisha Thompson received a settlement from the university and used it to attend nursing school at Johns Hopkins. She sent Cheryl a text on her first day. We did it. Jeanne came to Cheryl's apartment one last time in late January, when the snow was falling and the city looked clean and new. I wanted you to see this. She handed Cheryl a folder. Inside was a check made out in Cheryl's name. $50,000. For everything you lost. Your time, your stress, your suffering. It's not enough, but it's something. Cheryl stared at the number. It was more money than her mother had made in 3 years. It was enough to finish school without working nights. It was enough to breathe. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Jeanne smiled. Just promise me something. When you're a nurse, when you see someone who needs help, when everyone else is walking by, she touched Cheryl's hand. Keep stopping. The world needs people like you. 3 years later, Cheryl D. Hathaway graduated summa cum laude from Harrison Medical College. She gave the commencement speech. Jeanne sat in the front row beside Cheryl's grandmother, both of them crying. The speech was short. Cheryl talked about stopping, about choosing compassion over convenience, about how one moment of humanity could change everything. She didn't mention Jeanne Mitchell. She didn't need to. Some people are remembered for the harm they cause. Others are remembered for the lives they save. Cheryl knew which legacy she wanted. But here's the truth that should break your heart. Right now, while you're reading this, there's a real student somewhere facing exactly what Cheryl faced. A real young person who did everything right, who helped someone in need, who showed up with compassion, and they're being punished for it. They're sitting in a dean's office being told they don't belong. They're watching their dreams get thrown in the trash. They're hearing police knock on their door. And unlike Cheryl, they don't have a billionaire's wife coming to save them. They don't have a high-powered attorney. They don't have anyone fighting for them except people like you who are willing to share their stories. That's why I need you to do 3 things right now, not tomorrow, not later, right now. 1. Subscribe to this channel. Every subscriber helps us reach more people with stories that expose injustice. Stories that make people think, stories that change minds. If you believe Cheryl's story deserves to be heard, hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it means everything. 2. Like this video. I know you've heard this a million times, but here's what you haven't heard. YouTube's algorithm doesn't care about justice. It doesn't care about students like Cheryl. It only cares about engagement. Every like tells YouTube, this story matters. Show it to more people. Your single click could put this story in front of someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's facing their own Jeanne Mitchell. Someone who's about to give up. Don't scroll past their chance to find hope. 3. Comment below and tell me, have you or someone you know ever faced discrimination in school? Have you ever been punished for doing the right thing? Your story matters. Share it in the comments. Let's build a community where people like Cheryl know they're not alone. And finally, share this video. Send it to your group chats. Post it on your social media. Tag someone who needs to see it. Because here's what I know. Somewhere out there is a student who's about to give up. They're sitting in their tiny apartment thinking their life is over. They think nobody cares. They think the system always wins. Your share could be the thing that saves them. Your share could be their Jeffrey Kerr's moment. Your share could be proof that people do care, that injustice does get exposed, that good people don't have to face this alone. So ask yourself, is 30 seconds of your time worth saving someone's future? Because that's what you're doing when you engage with this content. You're not just clicking buttons. You're building an army of people who refuse to let the Jeanne Mitchells of the world keep winning. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Do it for Cheryl. Do it for Marcus. Do it for Aisha. Do it for every student who's still fighting. Do it because you'd want someone to do it for you. I'll see you in the next story. And trust me, the next one is even more powerful. You won't want to miss it.